Soccer. This was a fantastic season for the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, although it has a little bit of a different storyline, a bit more of the tumultuous kind of a storyline in terms of, some of the head coaching situations that are surrounding the team, a little bit of the heights that they've reached in the regular season and such. So it was a very interesting season. We'll be getting through all of it here. We'll be going through the season, more of a game-by-game, chunk-of-game way. We'll be leading up into the Horizon League tournament, and we'll be leading up all the way into the championship game. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge to those who aren't familiar with how the season went. So we went to the championship game. And we'll let you know where that was hosted as well. So we'll be going through all that. Let's start now with going kind of game by game. Let's kind of give you the flow of the season for the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. But before that, let's kind of get into just a very brief overview of what was last year, the 2022 season for the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. This one was a little bit more on the downside for the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, as they finished 4-10-5 overall, and they were 4-2-3 in conference. So that kind of set the stage for what ended up coming into this season, which was an 8-9-2 overall record and a 6-4 record in conference. So a big step up for the Golden Grizzlies men's soccer team in the 2023 season that occurred this past fall. So we won't go over the exhibition games, but it took a little bit for Oakland to find themselves in their first win of the season. And it was kind of, and I want to be careful of my wording here, but it was also tied into kind of like a slow start to the season to the fact that 22-plus year head coach of the Golden Grizzlies men's soccer team, Eric Pogue, I'm trying to be sensitive here, was on medical leave. He took an absence for the beginning part of the season for what he described as mental health reasons, which is something that we always respect, and it takes a great amount of courage to be able to do that. But it did kind of shake up the beginning of the season here, as in the out of conference part of it, a 0-4 or 4-0 loss to Marshall in West Virginia, a 1-2 loss to Xavier in Cincinnati, and a 2-2 draw against former Horizon League school UIC in Chicago, and finally a 1-0 loss against Loyola Chicago. So that brings us from August 24th to September 4th. But once the Horizon League season started, that's when Oakland started to get rolling here. Against Cleveland State, they would get their first win of the season, and this one was a big one, a 3-0 victory at Cleveland State. And we'll get a little bit more into detail now here. Mikey Ketteman scored 2 goals in this game. Owen Smith had an assist in it as well, and Finn Jurek 8 saves against the Cleveland State Vikings to start off the Horizon League season strong at Kretzler Soccer Field in Cleveland, Ohio. This, however, would not continue, as the first Horizon League home game for the Golden Grizzlies against Northern Kentucky went the opposite way. A 3-0 loss to the Northern Kentucky Norse to get Oakland at a 1-1 start in Horizon League play. But to kind of continue their bit of their out-of-conference part of the schedule, a little bit more Big Ten action, as their second home game was hosting the University of Michigan, as the Wolverines came to town, and they packed the stands, as well as whenever, whether it's soccer, whether it's baseball, when Michigan comes, their fans are nearby, and they come to Oakland University to see their teams play. So it was a packed crowd for that as well. We were on the call for WXOU on this game. I remember me and Harja Buttar outside right next to those packed stands calling this game. This one was very, very exciting. It ended up being a 2-1 victory for the Golden Grizzlies against the Wolverines, and a kind of a late game heroics as Oakland was able to get the win. Donovan Phillip was able to get not only a goal but an assist in the match as well. Finn Jurek with a save in addition to that. But it was in the 85th minute that Donovan Phillips was able to get that goal to get Oakland the lead in what was a thrilling game against the University of Michigan. And if you look way back, if you want to go over to the WXLU Sports YouTube page, I mean, I'm talking way back, like one of our first videos that we have was an interview, a post-game interview with Donovan Phillip, asking him about that goal, asking him about, you know, the feeling of that to finally get a win at home towards the start of the season. Of course, our microphones were turned off, but the phone video was able to capture enough of the audio, so be sure to go and check that out as one of our early season interviews with the star freshman for that game. So that got Oakland now their second win of the season, a 3-0 victory against Cleveland State, and then a 2-1 victory against Michigan. But that wasn't the only part of that Michigan game that deserves more mention. So I mentioned to you guys that Eric Pogue, head coach of the Golden Grizzlies, took a medical leave and was not present for the first parts of the season. That left assistant coach Paul Doro as the acting head coach for the time. And he's been one of the top assistant coaches in the country. Currently, he is the head coach of the Flint City Bucks in the USL League 2. As now that I've been working with the Michigan Soccer Network, I'm learning a lot more about kind of what goes on during the off season for these soccer players, as they don't stop playing soccer. They find other means and other teams to play for throughout the off season. But yeah, I ran into Coach Duro before one of the Flint City Bucks games. So that was a lot of fun, but that's kind of to set the stage for the coaching stuff. In that Michigan game, though, that marked the return of Eric Pogue for the Golden Grizzlies, as he released a statement, you know, kind of shortly after he came back, that he said, "I'm going to be back on September 18th," and you know, he's all excited and everything to do that. It was a great statement. But in this game played against Michigan was Tuesday, September 19th. So this is the day after he came back. To start off with a win against Michigan was pretty darn sweet. Not gonna lie. So it was a great return for Coach Pogue, and it was a great show. It was an exciting match between the Golden Grizzlies and the Wolverines. So now we get back for a little bit into the Horizon League play here, going to Indianapolis to face IUPUI. Oakland would unfortunately suffer a 2-1 loss against the Jaguars. And in that match, over the quick highlights, it was Mikey Kenneman who got the single goal, assisted by Ville Ahola. Fincher getting a save in that match as well. But a 2-1 loss would be the score on September 23rd for the Golden Grizzlies against the Jaguars. They would return then on September 26th, that Tuesday, to face another Big Ten team, the other one in the Big Mitten, that being Michigan State. That would be an exciting draw against, at the time, number 12th ranked Michigan State. In a near upset, Oakland was able to 2-2, were able to draw with the Spartans 2-2. Owen Smith getting one of the goals for the Golden Grizzlies, assisted by Donovan Phillip, as well as Michael Sly Jr., 8 saves against the Spartans. And he's doing some great work with Union FC Macomb as their keeper, as well as unfortunate status of the team. He gets his opportunities to get a lot of saves for Union FC. You can learn more about that on the Michigan Soccer Network, but for now, Sly Jr. as well as Finn Jurek. I'm pretty sure throughout the season they both earned individually Defensive Players of the Week. So Oakland was sporting 2 great goalkeepers throughout this season. But a 2-2 draw against the Spartans was held on September 26th. Then now we get back into the Horizon League season. We kind of go back and forth a little bit throughout the season, as they don't go just straight through the Horizon League season. They fill in a little bit of the dead time with other out-of-conference play. But September 30th would be a match against the Milwaukee Panthers. This one being at home at the Oakland soccer field, which, by the way, has its own Twitter account. I don't know if you guys knew that. I happened to be going through social media, and I found the Oakland soccer field having its own Twitter account. I thought that was hilarious. But either way, so yeah, you guys can go and follow that if you want. But at the Oakland soccer field, Oakland was able to get a win against the Panthers, their second win of the Horizon League season, their third one in regular season play. This game saw Mikey Ketterman. Are you noticing a theme here? Mikey Ketterman with a goal, Donovan Phillip with the assist. Sly Jr. making 9 saves against the Panthers. And setting up Oakland nicely in the standings. So it was Mikey Ketterman in the 28th minute and then Owen Smith in the 73rd minute to get the goals for the Golden Grizzlies. But that would be a comeback win. Alan Lopez of the Panthers score in the 3rd minute. So then, after that 3rd minute, Oakland followed up with 2 unanswered goals to get the win over the Panthers, set themselves up nicely in the Horizon League standings. They would repeat that score as they traveled to Purdue for Wayne later. Now we're in October 7th. They would win against the Mastodons 2-1 at Heifner Soccer Complex. I like to try and test myself with the pronunciations. It started off in a little bit of a similar vein to that Milwaukee game as well. In the 27th minute, Seth Malmeister would be the one to score the first goal in the game for the Mastodons off of a penalty kick. But then the Golden Grizzlies, shortly after in the 30th minute, Mikey Ketterman would get his 5th goal of the season. And then so that ties up the match at 1-1 in the 30th minute. Then in the second half, the Golden Grizzlies score again. This one returning the favor as Mikey Ketterman gets a penalty kick goal to set the Golden Grizzlies with a 2-1 lead over the Mastodons, and that's where the scoring would stop. A lot of yellow cards in this one. Looking at the box score, we won't go through all of them. But Oakland gets now their second win in a row in Horizon League play, as a 2-1 victory over the Mastodons was had. They then, shortly after, October 11th, would travel to Kalamazoo at WMU Soccer Complex, where they unfortunately suffered a 5-0 loss to the Broncos. The Broncos, by the way, I mean, listen, Broncos are really good. If you want to go and look through their history, the Broncos do real nice over there. So now this brings up to October 14th. This is the homecoming weekend for Oakland University, where they had not only the soccer game, but they had volleyball and they had club football going on this weekend as well, as a kind of a celebration of everybody coming back. Obviously, that's the homecoming. But this homecoming game would be at home against the Wright State Raiders. And Oakland would let the fireworks fly as they would come away from this game 5-0 victory over the Wright State Raiders. It would start in the 20th minute, Owen Smith getting to the back of the net. Then shortly after the 23rd minute, Donovan Phillip would get his goal. 44th minute, just before halftime, Malik Sylvester would find himself with a goal. Now moving to the second half, of course, you can't leave Mikey Ketterman out of this one. He would score a goal in this one, 52nd minute, and then Owen Smith in the 63rd with a goal as well. It was just one after another in what was a very rainy game from what I remember. It was kind of sloppy weather for that match, and giving Oakland a big old conference win to celebrate homecoming, of course. So then they go out of conference following that one against number 13 Louisville, hosting them at the Oakland soccer field. That one a bit of a ugly 4-0 loss for the Golden Grizzlies, but we would soon return to Horizon League play and not look back. Traveling to Robert Morris, Oakland gets another win on the road, 1-0 against the Colonials. That goal being scored by Donovan Phillip in the 85th minute. It was a 0-0 draw all the way up until the final few minutes of the match. 5 minutes left to go after that one was scored. Robert Morris unable to respond as Oakland would come away with that 1-0 victory over the Robert Morris Colonials. They're starting to set themselves up real nice now for the Horizon League tournament. They would unfortunately have a stumble on their way there against Green Bay at Green Bay at Aldo Stantaglia Stadium, as they would suffer a 3-1 loss to the Green Bay Phoenix, and that goal being scored by who else? Mikey Ketterman. And then that sets up the final match of the regular season. They saved this one for last, as it's the blackout game, the rivalry game, the game against Detroit Mercy at home at the Oakland soccer field. Oakland would celebrate and clinch themselves as the regular season champions against Detroit Mercy. A 2-0 victory for the Golden Grizzlies against their rivals, as they were able to get all the group together, become the number 1 seed, take the pictures, get the regular season championship award in exciting fashion. Donovan Phillip was the first one to score in the 22nd minute, and then all the way in the 84th, Owen Smith would get to the back of the net as well for that 2-0 victory over the Detroit Mercy Titans. So, we now know that the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, despite a slow start in the beginning of the season, once Eric Poe came back, that's when the Golden Grizzlies started rolling, and a regular season championship was had, setting themselves up not only with the 1 seed, but the right to host the tournament. As this doesn't always happen for each sport for facility reasons, but Oakland gets the opportunity to host it once again. And they would start it off with, or let me pull up the championship bracket here so I can kind of set things up here. We'll look at the seeding in total for the Horizon League tournament. So Oakland is the number 1 seed with 18 conference points. That would be a 6-3 conference record, followed by Green Bay just behind them with 17. 5-2-2 was their conference record. IUPUI would be third, 4-2-3, followed by Detroit Mercy, 4-3-2 with 14 points. And then you go down Fort Wayne, Wright State, Robert Morris, Cleveland State, Northern Kentucky, and Milwaukee. Those are your standings, the 10 teams for the Horizon League. Yeah, 10. Just making sure, because I know there's 11. Youngstown State doesn't seem to have a soccer team for the Horizon League. I had to go back and count to make sure of that. But continuing now into our championship bracket here, how it was all set up for the Golden Grizzlies as they were hosting the tournament. So the quarterfinal, so Oakland would be obviously given a bye in the tournament. Them and Green Bay as the top 2 seeds would sit out the opening rounds, the quarterfinals of the tournament. And between the match of IUPUI and Wright State for game 1, and then Detroit Mercy and Purdue Fort Wayne for game 2, or match 2. I always get confused with the match and game. I feel like they're interchangeable, but I know Super Soccer fans know that it's match, it's not game. Just like a whole bunch of other terms that they get specific about. But either way, so for match 2, it was number 4, Detroit Mercy, number 5, Purdue Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne would end up getting the tournament upset to get the right to face Oakland in the semifinals. So it was a 1 seed Golden Grizzlies against the 5th seed Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons. Oakland would end up winning that match to continue with a 1-0 win over the Mastodons. Once again, Owen Smith in the 25th minute would be the one to make the difference with a goal assisted by Ville Ahola to go up 1-0 and continue in the Horizon League tournament. So then who did they face in the... So those are semifinals. Who did they face in the championship game? Well, they faced none other than 2nd seed Green Bay, a team that they suffered a loss to on their pitch. Another soccer term there. A team that they lost to 3-1 on their pitch just a couple of weeks prior. Green Bay would end up getting there by winning against IUPUI, meaning IUPUI beat number 6 Wright State to get into that tournament. I hope you guys are able to follow along with the bracketology auditorily. But either way, that sets up match 5 of the tournament and the championship game. Oakland hosting as the 1 seed. I was supposed to be there to call the game, but my voice gave out because silly me, I was cheering too hard at what I believe was, I'm pretty sure it was a volleyball game, given the time. There was no basketball yet. But either way, I still sat there and I got to watch the match, and it was sadly a frustrating one to watch, as the Oakland Golden Grizzlies would stop just short of a tournament victory, of a tournament championship, as they fall to Green Bay with a final score of 2-1. Or excuse me, of 1-0. That one goal by Green Bay, scored in the 25th minute by Chris Album, which unfortunately made the difference for the Golden Grizzlies. They had chances at the end. I recall there being a lot of set pieces and corner kicks and free kicks near the box, and just none of them were able to get through. And the Golden Grizzlies fall just one game short of a regular season championship and a tournament championship for the right to go to the NCAA tournament. So it was a real sad ending to what was a fantastic season for the Golden Grizzlies. And just to prove to you that it was a successful season, or at least it was a fun and awesome season, once again, Oakland with 18 conference points, a 6-3 conference record, got them the 1 seed. But let's go through the regular season awards, the All-League awards for the Horizon League, as the Golden Grizzlies were very prevalent in these awards. So if you go onto the Horizon League's website and you go to this year's all-season awards, and you Control F, type out Oakland, you find 23 entries. So Golden Grizzlies come up a whole lot when it came to these regular season awards. Let's start with the All-League. Let's start from bottom to top. Let's go with the All-League freshman team. That would see 3 Golden Grizzlies, as Carson Bala, Donovan Phillip, and Noah Roca would find themselves 3 spots in the Horizon League All-Freshman team. Then we move up to the All-League second team. Not only did Donovan Phillip get the All-Freshman team, but he was second team All-League, along with Vile Ahola as members of the second team. And then when we go to the first team All-League, we would see 3 Golden Grizzlies in here as well. Jace Foster and Owen Smith and Mikey Ketterman would find themselves in the first team All-League. The best of the best. And we got 3 black and golds represented in there. But that's not where this ends. For the big ones, the big all-season awards, Coach of the Year was shared between Green Bay's Coach Jeremy Bonomo and Oakland University's Eric Pogue, co-coaches of the year. Freshman of the year, Donovan Phillip. So not only was he all-freshman team, not only was he second team, but he was freshman of the year for 3 pieces of hardware to take home for the freshman. And then, because we're not done yet, offensive player of the year goes to Mikey Ketterman. And if you were listening during me describing all of, kind of all who scored the goals and all that, then you realize that Mikey Ketterman's name came up a whole lot for the Golden Grizzlies. We'll pull up his stats for the year. As we pull up his stats for the year, he played and started in all 19 matches for the Golden Grizzlies this season. 8 goals and 3 assists for 19 points. He had a shot percentage of 25.8%, 16 shots on goal, and thus the offensive player of the year, everybody. He was all over the place all season long. When you call his name on radio, he comes up all the time. So it was only right that he got to take home Offensive Player of the Year for the Golden Grizzlies to cap off a remarkable season for the Golden Grizzlies men's soccer team. Unfortunately, it did not end in a conference championship, but a regular season championship was had. Thus, the team still gets rings, which, if it makes you as a player feel any better, you get a ring for that too, which I'm sure it makes you feel just a little bit better in that sense. And to kind of, I didn't have this part written down, but to kind of go off the top of my head, from the work that I've been doing with the Michigan Soccer Network, I find that the Golden Grizzlies, I find myself calling games including Golden Grizzlies. As we mentioned before, Paul Duro, of former assistant coach and now promoted to head coach of the Golden Grizzlies. He is also the head coach of the Flint City Bucks, USL League 2 team, obviously played up in Flint. They have their home games at Atwood Stadium at Kettering University. In addition to that, for Lansing City FC, I'm pretty sure is the proper name for it, we saw Micah Sottenberg on the pitch for that match as well. They were playing the Flint City Bucks a couple of weeks ago. In addition to that, we got a couple of Golden Grizzlies on Macomb, or Union Macomb FC. Or excuse me, Union FC Macomb. Because everyone's very specific about it. That's my favorite part of the sport. We see, I know Zach Townsend's on that team, Michael Sly Jr. on that team. Midwest Premier League's Inter Detroit, sitting at top of the table right now, sees a few Golden Grizzlies as well. Gabe Balin, as well as Doug Hayner. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Zach Townsend also plays in Inter Detroit as well. So, I mention that because, not only to mention that I do stuff at the Michigan Soccer Network, but to kind of put into perspective that the season doesn't end with the Horizon League season, because and that kind of goes, obviously, for all athletes. It's not as pronounced in like football or in basketball, but in a lot of other sports, they just go and play in other leagues to keep them fresh, to keep getting the in-game reps, to improve their skills, to learn with new teammates. That it doesn't end at the Horizon League for our Oakland players here, to kind of stay centered at Oakland here, but they continue to play. And I found that awesome. For me, I don't know the sport of soccer all that well. I didn't realize that all these leagues sponsor or host so many off-season college players. For at least like USL League 2 and for Midwest Premier League, just from what I've seen with my own eyes, it's mostly college students. It's mostly off-season college students. The Golden Grizzlies are in there. I see some from Purdue Fort Wayne. I see a bunch from Cleveland State. Specifically on the Cleveland side with the Cleveland Force, another game I happen to have called, but it's fascinating to see just how much soccer, how many minutes they rack up in order to improve their game, to get ready for the college season, to prove what they got in that sense. So one final little storyline before we end here, and then we'll get into the USPBL as we usually do. Week 3 hoppers on top, baby. To kind of cap it off, I mentioned, and the story with Eric Pogue doesn't quite end at he came back, he won Coach of the Year, or he won Co-Coach of the Year, he had a regular season championship, lost in the championship game. His story doesn't quite end there, unfortunately. And it's kind of like more of the ugly side of college sports, kind of the ugly side of at least what's going on in Oakland athletics right now, as it was announced shortly after the season. Actually, I can't remember how long after the season that this decision was made, but either way, Eric Pogue was let go by the Golden Grizzlies, and and I don't mean let go as in specifically he was fired. I want to be careful of my terminology with all this, because I don't quite know exactly who did what, who was the breaker, who got broken up with in that sense. But Eric Pogue is no longer the head coach of the Golden Grizzlies. Is the result of it, and it was a very short and very weird statement given out by Golden Grizzlies athletics. It was a very short statement. It was just like it basically boiled down to, hey, we're not working with him anymore. Quote from Waterfield, thank you for all this. Paul Doro is now the head coach. Or a little bit after, it was announced Paul Doro was the head coach. And I found it really strange. Everybody kind of found it really strange as, with the resume he's had and all the time that he's had here at Oakland University. And it's obviously not a performance thing because they just won the regular season and lost in the championship game, the one game short. Respectfully, Oakland has a lot of other coaches with less success and stay around still. It's not like a precedent that Oakland has that they just get rid of head coaches if they come one game short. So it was very weird. And what made it even weirder is a statement released by Eric Pogue shortly after the announcement. And I'll read it to you here. I'll read it to you here. He posted this on social media. He had it written out, and here's what it reads. Wanted to take a quick second to clarify a few things, as the press release Oakland Athletics released last week was very vague and ambiguous. Again, we're quoting Eric Pogue here in his written statement. Quote, I did not step down, comma. I was terminated by Oakland last Tuesday after being asked to resign, parentheses, and saying no. I'm absolutely heartbroken, and I have deep love for Oakland men's soccer, my alumni, players, and coaches. I dedicated 22 plus years of my life to the program, including 14 championships, including one this fall, as a player, assistant, head coach from 95 and 2002 to 2024. I'm proud of the legacy that I continued helping develop and mentor top class student athletes, yes, but more importantly, amazing husbands, fathers, and human beings. Wishing my dear friends Paul Duro, Joey Tinian, and my boys nothing but the most success moving forward this spring and into summer and fall. As a final note, fine, Oakland University wanted to move on from me, but over my 22 plus years, I've done a lot of good for the program, our student athletes, the athletic department, and the university. I believe I'm deserving of more than a few generic sentences in their press release announcing my termination. I'll have more to say in the coming days / weeks ahead, but for now, I think it's best to set the record straight for the reason of my sudden and unexpected departure from Oakland. Respectfully, Eric Pogue. So, like I mentioned, it's very weird. Something's not right here when it comes to how this ended up going down. And I'm not building this up to say that I know the reason why. I don't. I'm going based on kind of generically what was released. And then later on, a story in the Detroit News comes out by Tony Paul. Tony Paul does a fantastic job at the Detroit News, always covers Oakland sports. He's on the call for a lot of the basketball games as well. Tony's a great dude. I love that guy. And he released a story, and you guys can go read it. I'm not going to read all of it for you guys now on the Detroit News. This was released about a month ago. It was published on April 30th of this year. Headline reading, decorated ex-Oakland soccer coach sues, saying he was fired for mental health struggles. That's tough. That gets into very sticky territory, and it puts the university, it puts the program in a very awkward situation. This doesn't happen often, and it's a unique and strange story. You guys can go read what Tony Paul had to write on the Detroit News more about it. I'm going to leave it at that for the sake of timing on the show, as well as the sake of kind of the sensitivity of the situation. But it's weird. Very, very weird. So that's what we got here for the Oakland men's soccer season review, and then I guess kind of postseason updates as far as that goes. So a very successful season, a bit of a strange storyline with Eric Pogues, mental health leave, coming back, winning the regular season, coming one game short of the championship game, being let go, and now suing. It's a weird story. No doubt about it. But that's where we're going to leave it here for the first season review on the GioMoShow. Next week, we'll be staying in the soccer world, looking at the past women's soccer season, looking at through their games, some of the regular season awards, how the results went in the tournament, or leading up to the tournament. We'll kind of give you a hint on that one. But that'll wrap it up for the men's soccer segment of the GioMoShow. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube and you just now joining and you missed it, you can go and skip back, or you can wait for the podcast release of the GioMoShow to ensure that you don't miss a thing. Right here on the GioMoShow, we'll be taking a quick break here, and coming up next, we'll have Week 3 of the USPBL to see how the Hoppers came out on top right here on the GioMoShow.